Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training, in conjunction with the Office of the Prime Minister, presents an Education Town Hall, Strengthening School Attendance for Learning Recovery, coming to you live from Jones Communications Network on University Drive.
Welcome to our live broadcast of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training's Town Hall meeting. The purpose of this evening's meeting is to discuss the various initiatives that the Education Ministry has put in place to improve our schools' attendance and enhance learning recovery. Now, we are all familiar with the challenges which have been imposed on our instructional delivery program in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's been a significant drop in school attendance, and subsequently, many of our students have suffered due to a widening learning gap. Now, to resolve this challenge, the Education Ministry has put in place a program which has been focused on finding every child and getting them back into our classrooms. Additionally, the Education Ministry has introduced learning recovery programs to address the learning gap. Tonight, we will hear about all of these programs from our Acting Prime Minister and Education Minister, Glenys Hannah Martin, our Acting Director of Education, Dominique McCartney-Russell, Education Ministry officials, along with other stakeholders. But before we continue, I would like to invite Minister Nino Newbold of Resurrection Ministries to lead us in prayer.
I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make a boast in the Lord. The humble will hear thereof and be glad. O magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. Father, we thank you, we praise you, we bless your wonderful name. We give you honor, God, we give you all the glory tonight. We just welcome your presence in the midst of us tonight. Father, we ask your blessings upon this educational town hall meeting. Father, your word declares that blessed is the nation whose Lord is the God Almighty. We bless you and we praise you. Father, your word also declares that we are to train up the child in the way they should grow, that when they get old, they'll not depart from it. God, we just bless your wonderful name. We ask you to have your way. Grant us, God, tonight your wisdom, your knowledge, and give us a clear understanding on the way forward for the future of this nation. Father, we ask your blessings upon the Ministry of Education led by our Minister, Acting Prime Minister, Glenys Hannah Martin, and her team. We ask your blessings, God, upon this communication tonight, as far as this may reach through the Commonwealth of the Bahamas tonight. We ask this in the name, no other name tonight, but in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Minister Newbold. Tonight, we will hear a recorded message from our Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip E. Davis. The Prime Minister has given his full support to ensuring that all children throughout the country are able to fully benefit from the programs which are available at the Education Ministry. Let's listen in.
Children are our most treasured blessings, and they need us now more than ever. After storm and plague, our country is finally moving forward. But when schools reopened, too many of our children did not return. With hard work, we have made so much progress. 90% of the students who were chronically absent last year are now back in their classrooms. Thank you to every educator and public servant who worked so hard to bring these children back to their teachers and friends. But hundreds are still not attending regularly. I'm determined that we don't leave any of our children behind. So I'm asking all Bahamians, parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles, godparents, priests, pastors, coaches, pediatricians, community leaders, everyone to join the effort. Help us get all Bahamian children back to school where they belong.
Our Acting Director of Education, Mrs. McCartney-Russell, has been working along with her team of officers to ensure that the school attendance rate among our children continues to move in an upward trend. Tonight, she'll be sharing with us updates on the work that is ongoing to get more of our children back into the classroom. Let us welcome her. Director?
A pleasant good evening, sorry. Since March 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused an interruption in the traditional face-to-face mode of classroom instruction, forcing our teachers and students to adopt a remote or virtual model of learning and instruction. But we discovered that the average district attendance percentage in New Providence was a mere 54%. Many of our students did not or could not access the virtual platform for a variety of reasons, and the potential for learning loss was real. When students returned fully in the face-to-face mode of instruction, school leaders and classroom practitioners underscored the need to address the observed learning gaps. A learning gap is the incongruity between what a student knows and what a student should know at a specific grade level or benchmark. And we have observed knowledge gaps, skills gaps, communication gaps, motivation gaps, and environmental gaps. And as I said, school leaders and teachers observed these gaps during classroom instruction and social opportunities. And schools employed a plethora of strategies to identify them. Many of our teachers called for intervention. Utilizing a standardized diagnostic assessment was key to assisting us with the provision of intervention strategies. And applying one standardized test for all students, a test that meets them where they are, provides us with fair and valid data that allows us to improve the educational experiences of our children. We gain a more accurate picture of what students know and can do, and what they do not know or cannot do. In the past, each school utilized different instruments to diagnose learning deficiencies. The results were not always equal across the archipelago because the assessments measured different things. Therefore, making informed decisions was quite difficult. In fact, it was like comparing apples and oranges, causing hasty generalizations and giving erroneous information. The Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training is seeking to close the learning gaps and recover learning loss by students attending all of our Ministry of Education, Technical and Training schools. Throughout the archipelago, those students who would have been severely impacted by the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. To date, 9,000 students have been assessed using the Renaissance Early Literacy Test. And 26,000 students have taken the reading assessment and the math assessment. Due to connectivity issues and limited devices, some of our schools are still conducting the first round of testing. The results revealed that a significant amount of our students need literacy and numeracy interventions. Renaissance has provided individual, small group, and whole class strategies and lesson plans to assist in the remediation of knowledge and skills gaps. They are also providing training for district and school leaders and teachers. We expect that the first round of testing will be completed soon. I want to say a special thank you to all of our stakeholders, especially our district leaders, our principals, administrators, teachers, and support staff, for ensuring that there is excellence for each student in each classroom in each school. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Director. Our Minister of Education and our Acting Prime Minister, Glenys Hannah Martin, since coming into office, has taken up the mantle to oversee the charge of increasing school attendance for learning recovery. Today, she will share with us her vision for the way forward in our education ministry. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome her, Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Education, Glenys Hannah Martin.
Good evening. It is an honor once again to be able to address the Bahamian people on this most critical and fundamentally important matter of the education and training and preparation of our young people to ensure that they take their respective placements for the successful future of our nation. I begin by congratulating our teachers and administrators who have made extraordinary efforts and exhibited the highest examples of commitment and love in sometimes challenging circumstances to affect these results. This is a most marvelous story that must be told in the near future so that the people of our nation understand the immeasurable input of our educators to our national good. As we all know, attending school regularly is a fundamental aspect of a student's development. Not only does it provide access to essential knowledge and skills, but it also enhances the lives of students socially and emotionally. Over the last several months, we have directed our focus on 3 core areas. Firstly, getting our children back in school. Secondly, stabilizing our young people on the school campuses after being isolated and in lockdown for 2 years. Thirdly, mapping out a curriculum that allows our young people to tap into their innate strengths and abilities to capitalize on their significant potential. In our determination to achieve these objectives, we have sought to engage all stakeholders: students, parents, teachers, administrators, and the wider community. We have mobilized in this way because it is true that education is the key to our nation's development, and we all have a stake in its unadulterated success. All hands must be on deck. It takes the whole village to raise up our young people. We've met with parents through PTAs nationwide on at least 3 occasions. Most recently, 3 days ago, we met with almost 1,000 parents regarding the grade level assessment testing, or GLAT, which is an assessment test for our 3rd and 6th graders. During this session, we informed parents on how to assist their children with preparation for the test, to help them understand the results, and how best to collaborate with teachers and schools to respond appropriately with interventions to fill gaps in learning if and where they may exist. We're adjusting the curriculum to include a stronger infusion of athletics and the creative arts. The introduction of a first-time Bahamian history text is underway, and an intensified focus on information technology for the 21st century student. We are now training a cadre of teachers in special education and have identified existing classrooms that will be utilized to expand access for our precious, exceptional children. Moreover, we have encouraged corporate Bahamas to embrace our schools, and we have seen some heartwarming approaches. And again, I encourage and urge corporate Bahamas to support our schools, particularly those schools that serve the communities in which your businesses are based. The pandemic and the consequent lockdowns and disruptions have created tremendous fallout. During the launch of the Find Every Child initiative in 2021, close to 8,000 students were disengaged from classroom instruction. As the 2021-2022 school year progressed, we were faced with a grim situation, with 6,811 students missing for more than 50% of the school year, and 1,917 students had missed more than 75% of the school year. Consequently, we prioritized 10 schools, which concentrated the largest numbers of missing students, and we joined forces to ensure we knew exactly why and where our students were and were not attending school. We have recruited 19 school attendance monitors who operate from urban renewal centers. These monitors merge into communities and liaise with schools to identify, locate, and bring back into the fold missing school-age children. A robust data analysis effort was steered by a committee pioneered by ministry officials with support from the Office of the Prime Minister. 1 year later, 425 students have missed more than 50% of the school year, which represents a 94% reduction, and 69 students missed 75% or more of the school year, a reduction of 96% year on year. We do not conform, and we strive to bring each one of our 40,391 students, each with a name, back into our schools. Statistics indicate that children who attend school regularly have better academic performance, stronger social connections, and a higher likelihood of achieving their academic and career goals. For those students who would have exceeded mandatory age of attendance, but who would have lost up to 2 years of schooling, we have partnered with BTVI with a specially crafted program dubbed Smart Start for young people who fall into this category. If you believe your child, or if you believe you fall into this category, please call BTVI tomorrow morning. In this vein, I urge parents and guardians to ensure that your children attend school regularly. We understand that at times your circumstances may be acutely challenging, but do not let this be a deterrent. If your child is experiencing challenges that may affect their attendance, there are systems in place to assist you and your child. Please do not hesitate to reach out to your school principal or guidance counselor. We have completed the review of the high school diploma, and once the announcement of reforms are made in short order, they will take immediate effect. We believe the imminent reforms will allow for a more broad-based approach to the diversity of talent of our young people. We also have endeavored to eliminate anomalies and provide greater administrative support for the entire diploma process. We believe the educational experience should be a stimulus to the abilities of our young people. Educators, I entreat you to continue to create an engaging and safe learning environment for your students. Your efforts to provide quality education during these difficult times are very much appreciated, and the nation commends you for your dedication and superb work and efforts. As a matter of fact, this evening is designed to inform all of you, our valuable stakeholders, of the tireless efforts to mitigate learning loss. The ministry has partnered with a company, as you would have heard, to conduct assessments in an effort to understand the impact of the pandemic on our students' learning. We have tested over 35,000 of the 40,000 students registered in public schools, from pre-primary to grade 12, at every one of the 140 schools in this nation. While we are still testing, we are committed to investing in education and providing the necessary resources and support to ensure that every student has the opportunity to succeed. The final initiative I wish to apprise you of is a framework that has been developed from a committee comprising public and private specialists to analyze and give recommendations for assisting children who have been adversely affected psychologically from the lack of socialization during the lockdowns. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in very challenging times for many young people. We understand that learning recovery is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Every student has unique needs and challenges, and we are committed to providing tailored solutions that meet individual needs. Your child. However, I cannot stress enough that in order for this to be effective, all students must attend school on a daily basis. As we continue this informational session, I urge each of you to encourage your peers, parents, teachers, or students to promote the attendance of school every day and to be prepared and enthusiastic about the learning recovery process that has already begun. Again, if you or someone you know is facing challenges to do so, inform the school principal or the guidance counselor. We are there for you and your child. It takes a village, and together we can work towards a brighter future for all students in this beautiful nation, our Bahama land. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our acting Prime Minister and our Minister of Education, the Honorable Glenys Hanna Martin, for your update on the initiatives that have been put in place to ensure our students are able to access a quality education. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we must now take a break at this time. Please stay with us. We will be right back.
School is like a bus ride. Just like any other ride, there are turns that make you slow down. Sometimes you run into potholes or roadblocks, and your driver has to take another route. Don't let that stop you from reaching your goals. Just keep going. If your bus breaks down on your ride, just keep going. You're going to get to your destination. Even if it's hard, go to school, or even if you feel like it, or if you think your goals are too far away, don't stop. Just keep going.
Welcome back. A major component in the Department of Education are our administrators, teachers, and guidance counselors. Tonight, we will hear from 2 principals and 2 guidance counselors from 4 of our schools to share the initiatives that they have put in place to encourage their students to attend school. Our first presenter will be Mrs. Pamela Mingo Amalie. Now, Ms. Amalie is the principal of Uriah McPhee Primary School. After she has completed her presentation, we will hear from Ms. Brittany Turnquest, who's a guidance counselor over at Columbus Primary. She's also the president of the Association of School Counselors. We are going to hear from Ms. Shavana Davil. She is the principal over at XC McPherson Junior High School. We will also hear from Mrs. Jacqueline Roca Williams, who is the head guidance counselor over at Carlton E. Francis Primary School. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are streaming live on the Office of the Prime Minister's Facebook page, along with the Facebook page for the Education Ministry. So please feel free to send in your comments, send in your questions so that they can be addressed. Now, right now, we will start with Ms. Amalie.
I can't see it. A pleasant good evening. Uriah McPhee Primary School realized that major damage had landed and saturated its halls with COVID-19. We charted the way forward with learning recovery initiatives. Firstly, we had unique challenges. Secondly, we had to seek a new paradigm. Our theme at Uriah McPhee Primary School is The Footprints of a Leader Begins Here, called Family, School, and Stakeholders. Thirdly, attendance in September 2020 of 42% rose to 83% by January 2021. Therefore, we obtained a holistic approach which provides balance and consists of parents assisting their child with projects which allowed creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and effective communication skills. Here are some of our learning recovery initiatives. We continue to have walkabouts. Free breakfast, now in its 2nd year, given by Honorable Wayne Monroe, KC, Minister of National Security, Member of Parliament for Freetown. Hands for Hunger delivers food to our students. We have partnered with the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, which provides Helping Young People Excel program. Life at Key School has 2 great programs, the Focus and the Leap program, which it assists all of our students in applying for college and to reduce learning gaps. We also have PTA meetings. Now, we do it a little differently at our PTA meetings. It is educationally based, where students are allowed to participate. Corporate citizens have students enrolled in Western Warrior, soccer games, and the Bahamas youth. Enrichment classes are held 6 days per week. We usually have, as you would know, it's 5 days in school, but we go for 6 days. On Saturdays, we are at school. Specialist teachers, they teach basic skills at the beginning of each class. Lastly, we are proud at Uriah McPhee Primary School to say to you that our students sat grade 7 private school exams. And would you believe it? They passed for St. Augustine's College, Temple Christian, St. Anne's School, Nassau Christian Academy, and Queen's College. Shuttershot.com states, a little progress adds to big results. Thank you.
Good night, Bahamas. My name is Brittany Turnquest, Guidance Counselor at Columbus Primary School and President of the Bahamas Association of School Counselors. As it relates to guidance counselors and attendance, I must first note that collaboration is very important. Teachers would report to their guidance counselor after they've observed a pattern of absences, approximately 3 absences per week. Counselors will fill out the necessary absentee forms, one for the school's records and one for the school attendance officers, who is attached to their respective schools. If there is an absence of an attendance officer, counselors can submit their attendance record to the attendance unit at the Ministry of Education, and they will follow up from their end. As it relates to social services, during the COVID-19 pandemic, they would have assisted counselors in need of assistance with attendance. Another important resource was the use of our urban renewal officers who knew the community and was able to assist the school and the counselors with getting students back to school, as they were aware of the neighborhood and established relationships with families within the community. Thank you.
Good evening. At S.C. McPherson Junior High School, our mission is to equip our students with the skills and attitudes which will enable them to function competently and make meaningful contributions to the society. To achieve this, we must first ensure that they attend school. In September 2020, the attendance rate was around 47%. We were fully virtual at that time. Our task was to get students connected. To do that, we created tech stations at school where parents and students received assistance in setting up the LMS accounts. We started Each One, Reach One. Parents reached out to parents whose child wasn't logged on and offered them help with, for example, Wi-Fi services. Students reached out to missing students and encouraged them to log on, or informed teachers of matters that prevented their classmates from logging in. Of course, social media was an excellent tool for getting information out to the public. Our highest PTA attendance number of around 400 parents was recorded at a virtual PTA. The WhatsApp chat group set up by our homeroom teachers continues to be a major means of keeping students accountable for their attendance and their assignments. As we transitioned to face-to-face, our efforts had to change to adapt to getting them onto the campus. I think the most effective tool was our community walkabout. The walkabout gave us an opportunity to see where our children were coming from, to meet parents we'd never met, to meet our community partners. We met students who had not even registered for the new school year. The exercise opened our eyes to the needs of our students. As a result, we put in place the following: uniform assistance, busing to and from school, assistance with books and school supplies. Not only did we give them lunch, but we partnered with Hands for Hunger to provide take-home packages of snacks. To motivate them, we implemented the Student of the Month Award and the Class of the Month Award for the class with the best attendance. We also had to address the many concerns surrounding their social skills and how they feel about themselves. In response, we ensure that our students have every opportunity for wholesome interaction, be it a club, counseling, games like table tennis or chess, or sporting activities. Every lunchtime, you can find students engaged in some kind of uplifting activity. We have created a spirit of family, a spirit of oneness, school pride, school spirit. If one succeeds, we celebrate. If one doesn't meet the mark, then we are all there to assist. Parents, we are here to assist. If there is an issue, come in and speak with us. If we can't help, we will direct you to where you can get help. Today, we boast of an attendance rate of 96.2%. I would like to describe what we offer to our students as not just a sound instruction, but as a positive experience that will remain with them throughout their lives. Before I go, I would like to say thank you to all of our stakeholders in ensuring that we can be at the mark that we are today. Thank you and good night.
Good evening. I am Jacqueline Roca Williams, head of the guidance department at Carlton E. Francis Primary School, where our principal is Miss Tanea Cooper. From our counseling unit, one of our main areas of focus is personal and social development. The counseling unit of the Ministry of Education encouraged all public schools to host a club fair at the start of the 2022-2023 academic year. Therefore, with this particular initiative, after coming out of a pandemic and virtual school, a number of clubs came on stream. The launch of the club fair came about as a result of data collection as well as a result of our observations. School clubs have been tailored to match the deficit, social deficit, experienced by many of our children. The purpose of these activities is to eliminate social deficits in our children, to develop, as spoken before, school spirit. We are encouraging our children to own it, to become an integral part of their environment. It is also a reminder to parents to remember school is safe. We are providing the support your children need. Additionally, we have increased individual as well as group counseling, classroom guidance, parental conferences as well. School attendance is everybody's business. And as shared earlier, our community partners have joined forces with the school to help our children. Social services, as mentioned earlier, various organizations, church groups, urban renewal, they have all come on board to help our children. They have provided tablets and resources for learning. Our churches, as well as Hands for Hunger, have played an integral role in assisting our boys and girls. In our schools, we are building a healthy environment where our children are learning to respect God, to respect themselves, to respect their peers, adults, the school, and our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. If you're watching us Right now, please remember that we are streaming live from the Office of the Prime Minister's Facebook page. You can send in your questions there. We're also streaming live from our ministry's Facebook page. So please feel free to put in your questions, your comments, your ideas. We have persons who are live monitoring those pages. Now, this is time for our question and answer period for this segment of the show. So we want to invite our live audience. If you have questions for any of our 4 presenters, please feel free to pass them in. We have someone on the floor just collecting questions. But we had a few questions that came in earlier via email, and I think we'll start with one of those. It reads, is the increase in student attendance due to the ministry's community walkabouts, or is it really due to schools reopening for full face-to-face instruction? Now, I'll allow any one of our presenters to answer that who feels free.
I must say that walkabouts really helped. At Uriah McAfee Primary School, we have actually done 2 of them. When school opened in September of 2020, as I alluded to earlier, we had 42%, very, very low in percentage. We had our walkabout January 2021 on the 11th of January. I remember that date quite clearly. And as a result of the walkabout, and at the end of that month, we went to 83%. So the walkabouts are very helpful and useful. Why? We look at our walkabout as being community spirit. Therefore, we have stakeholders who are always there at Uriah McAfee who are helping or assisting. So yes, I would say that the walkabouts, yes, for Uriah McAfee Primary School, definitely it's a plus.
Let me add that I too support the fact that the walkabout was a significant contributor to the students returning to school, especially when we were virtual. The children, many of them had not even registered for school. And when we did the walkabout, we were able to locate them. Neighbors were talking, saying, go next door, you can find children in that house. Persons were housing children on their porch using Wi-Fi. So we were able to meet those children. And a lot of parents were not aware of the resources that we offer at school. And through the walkabout, we were able to reach those parents who would not typically walk into the doors of the school or tune into the social media page. So the walkabouts really played a significant role in students returning to school.
I can also add that as the guidance counselor, the community walkabout was very beneficial. It provided the counselors an opportunity to be familiarized with the neighborhoods, assisting with our urban renewal officers. We were able to have parent conferences there and also helping us to identify children who might possibly need to be placed on the National Lunch Program, who might need uniform assistance, tablet assistance, food assistance, school supplies. So it was very beneficial for the guidance counselors, especially to be cognizant of the environment that our children are in and being familiar with the community.
I think the parents were also ready. They were ready for their children to return to school. I think at the end of the pandemic, parents got a better appreciation of education. They wanted those children in school. And so the parents would have played a great role in the presence of those children returning as well, face to face.
Thank you, ladies. Are there any questions from the audience so far? Okay, well, I will continue with another question that we got from our platform. Now, the question says, there were many students that were missing, and many of the schools. In comparison to the students who were missing, what percentage of the absentee public school student body has returned to school? Now, I know you can't probably answer that for everyone, but you could probably just speak for your school. I think Uriah did earlier.
Yes. Yeah, and in my address, I also spoke for SC McPherson in 2020. At the start of the pandemic, we were down to about 47%. We now boast of an attendance rate of 96.2%. So we see that there has been a major increase in the number of students who have returned to school.
Okay.
Yes, also at Carl A. Francis Primary School, we had dropped tremendously below that 75% percentage, and now we are up 82% going into the late 80s. And so we would have improved in our attendance as well, although enrollment might have dropped, but the students who are attending now, the percentage is higher than from previous years.
Now, there is a question that came in on learning recovery. I know that the minister and the director will actually be speaking more to those issues a little later on. They have spoken already, and they'll continue to speak to those issues. But maybe you can just speak specifically on your opinion of the test, the Renaissance test. There's a question that says, do you believe that this test will actually give my child a proper assessment when they were not able to study for the test, and they really weren't able to take it on a good day, so to speak, or the best day? How do you speak to that in terms of testing assessment?
Remember now, the Renaissance test is not a test for you to learn. You're tested on skills. And after you've been tested on your skills and to see where you are at, of course, there would also be different ways of assisting the child. You look at the need of the child. So, and also remember too that the test is a diagnostic test. It's not a test for everybody at the same level, or you can give the test to the whole class at the same time. It's specifically for your child to reap the best reward.
And I think to add to that, not only is it a diagnostic test, and I know there's the mind that it's a foreign test, but from our understanding of it, they have incorporated the Bahamian curriculum into the test, so there should be a level of familiarity for the students when they see test items, because it would have a representation of what they are used to in the classroom.
Okay. Well, thank you, ladies. We are going to take a break at this time. We're actually wrapping up this particular segment, but please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Learning loss globally. In an effort to address this issue locally, public school students across the Bahamas engaged in a mass testing exercise to determine the best strategies needed for the recovery process.
Many of you might be in the classroom and feeling like there's a gap between where you are and what is being delivered to you. So I want to say to you, have no fear. This is a phenomenon that is happening worldwide. It's called learning loss. It happened in that big gap where you are outside the classroom, not socializing. And that is why we're doing the testing. I'm told that about 300 of you have already been tested. It's not an examination. You don't get a grade. There's no pressure on you. It's just to assess where you are so that we are able to assist you in catching up.
This public service announcement is brought to you by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training in conjunction with this channel.
School is like a bus ride. Just like any other ride, there are turns that make you slow down. Sometimes you run into potholes or roadblocks, and your driver has to take another route. Don't let that stop you from reaching your goals. Just keep going. If your bus breaks down on your ride, just keep going. You're going to get to your destination. Even if it's hard, go to school, or even if you feel like it, or if you think your goals are too far away, don't stop. Just keep going.
The COVID-19 pandemic resulted in immense learning loss globally. In an effort to address this issue locally, public school students across the Bahamas engaged in a mass testing exercise to determine the best strategies needed for the recovery process.
Many of you might be in the classroom and feeling like there's a gap between where you are and what is being delivered to you. So I want to say to you, have no fear. This is a phenomenon that is happening worldwide. It's called learning loss. It happened in that big gap where you are outside of the classroom, not socializing. And that is why we're doing the testing. I'm told that about 300 of you have already been tested. It's not an examination. You don't get a grade. There's no pressure on you. It's just to assess where you are so that we are able to assist you in catching up.
This public service announcement is brought to you by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training in conjunction with this channel.
Welcome back to the final segment of our Education Town Hall meeting. Now, this part of the meeting will focus on the way forward for learning recovery. I would like to invite Mrs. Janice Morse, Superintendent for the Western Primary Schools in New Providence, to speak. She will share about learning assessment outcomes and the next steps for our students and parents. Mrs. Morse?
Pleasant good evening to all. The Bahamas registered with other countries in the world with school closures and the suspension of face-to-face learning that has affected student attendance and academic engagement. Our response to recover learning loss and to accelerate learning was immediate, intentional, and addressed with a sense of urgency. We were all excited when the announcement was made that school would be reopening. To ensure that there was a smooth transition for our students from remote and hybrid to full face-to-face instruction, district officers, school leaders, and teachers engaged in collaborative and intense discussions about how best this would be done. Immediately, planning sessions with school leaders and teachers ensued to make certain that we were prepared to warmly welcome and engage them in meaningful and fun learning experiences. Initially, we knew we would be welcoming 3 groups of students: those who attended school regularly or every day, others who attended sporadically, and our students who did not attend school at all during the pandemic. Hence, upon their return to school, students were assessed to determine which skills were mastered in literacy and numeracy. The data collected from these assessments were analyzed and used to guide instruction. Very early in this process, we decided that we would place our brightest and best teachers with those students who needed intervention the most. Further, we determined that we would concentrate on pertinent skills in literacy and numeracy for those students. It was equally important to adhere to the National Pacing Guide, which was reduced to accommodate our various learners. This mission required the commitment and work of all. Meetings were held with grade level team leaders to discuss their concerns and challenges. Collectively, they listed basic skills that students needed to be successful at their current grade level and master for entry into the next grade. They further delineate those foundational skills necessary for success at the various levels. These were compiled and distributed. Each school crafted an improvement plan with strategies to address learning recovery and acceleration specific to their institutions. Those students were at varying ages. Their skill deficit determined where they were placed. Quality teaching from competent and motivated teachers are significant factors in closing the learning gap and accelerating learning. According to the International School Leadership and Learning Assessment Consortium, which is a global network of researchers, educators, and policymakers focused on improving the quality of education, school leadership is second only to classroom teaching as an influence on student learning. Therefore, districts established some non-negotiables related to the teaching learning process. These included non-interruption of the instructional program. It was time on task. When it was time to teach, our teachers taught, and when it was time for our children to learn, oh, they were learning. Teachers also created a warm and friendly learning environment that supported and affirmed students' efforts. Instruction included activities that promoted social interaction and cooperative learning, opportunities to collaborate, work as a team, to creatively solve problems, intentional and laser focus on teaching and learning where goals were created and closely monitored to track progress and areas for intervention. Visibility of administrators to render support to the instructional staff. Research-based strategies and high-quality instructional materials were utilized by teachers to support students' learning. John Maxwell coined the phrase, "Everything rises and falls on leadership." School leaders were provided with critical training in preparation for the return of their staff and students. Special attention was given to school safety, mental health, and the instructional program, to name a few. In an effort to equip teachers with the necessary knowledge and skills to effectively instruct the multiple ability levels in their classrooms, many professional development activities were offered by the Ministry of Education. These included academic and behavior intervention, tiered instruction, implementing a multi-support system. Also, we attended to their psycho-emotional needs as many teachers had serious challenges during the pandemic. Counseling and coping strategies were offered from USAID and our Employee Assistance Program on topics such as grief counseling and sustaining good mental health. The acceleration of our student learning is our primary focus. We are cognizant of the fact that learning loss vary from student to student. Some strategies that were utilized include tutoring students who require one-on-one instruction or simply reinforcement, morning, afternoon, and weekend classes in the areas of literacy and numeracy are held consistently in almost every school. I am pleased to say at Eva Hilton, Acting Principal Naria Halbert, with other teachers have devoted their Saturdays to render assistance to students in their school. Lunchtime study hall for upper primary students. Parents, when we say at lunchtime, they eat their lunch, they use the restroom, but that is the time we maximize for learning. Zoom classes, pull-out groups by administrators and specialist teachers. PTA meetings were planned by grade levels to host mini workshops to empower parents to assist their children when at home. At Yellow Elder Primary, they held a math operations workshop at the 3rd grade level to assist parents. Parents were directed to the ministry's digital repository, where they were given access to lesson plans, videos, digital activities, worksheets, games, and content charts. We are pleased with our private-public partnership. Some members of Parliament donated computers and cell phones to the instructional staff so that they can be easily accessible to parents. Paul Smith, our philanthropist, has 3 Leap into Literacy programs in 4 schools, Aubrey Sale Primary, Woodcock Primary, Stephen Dillett, and Yellow Elder Primary. We also have the Life at Key Foundation's Focus program. We want our children's brains to be fueled for learning, and we are pleased that Hands for Hunger donated lunch and snack items for our students. Schools utilize innovative means not only to engage students, but parents as well. At Aubrey Sale Primary School, they had the SIP, read, and draw. Now, when we say SIP, we're talking about juice and water parents. And that was done at their PTA meeting. and it engaged both parents and children. And of course, our summer learning academies are held every summer, where struggling learners are targeted for 4 weeks to enhance literacy and numeracy skills. Schools have prepared learning packets for students for them to practice skills while they are home. From the strategies listed, we are seeing incremental improvements in our students' academic performance. We are hopeful that with our combined efforts, consistent focus, and monitoring, that the learning gap will be closed and our students will experience greater success. We are sincerely grateful to our corporate and community partners who have joined hands with us to educate our children. Parents, educators, school leaders, teachers, our support staff, we salute you for supporting our children and our schools. We are a winning combination when all stakeholders champion the success of our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Moss. Indeed, we are all a winning combination when we work together. At this time, we would like to provide an opportunity again for questions from our social media platforms. Again, we're streaming live at the Office of the Prime Minister and the Facebook page at the Ministry of Education. And we do have 2 questions that have come in from our Facebook page, and those questions actually concern learning recovery. I'm going to read the first one. Good evening. Would there be officers posted on the family islands, well, this is actually attendance, checking on students who are not attending school often? So I'm going to allow our panel, our esteemed panel, to address that.
We do have some officers in Grand Bahama, and in those islands where we do not have officers, our district education officer is responsible for ensuring that if students are not attending school, that information is received and support is provided for those parents. And so we do have support in all of our islands, whether it's a attendance officer or our district education officer. We are searching out our children. We also have some neighborhood watches. Some of our stakeholders have partnered with us, and they are ensuring that if any student is absent, we are aware of it, and we are offering our support.
Thank you, Director. We have another question, and this one touches on learning recovery and graduation, the Bahamas High School diploma, actually. It says, this is indeed a good day for education in the Bahamas. The ministry is doing a great work. Since it has been determined that there has been learning loss, how will this affect the graduation criteria, specifically credit recovery and the timeliness in which credits can be recovered? Director? Okay.
The minister engaged a national commission that went throughout the archipelago to ascertain from all of the stakeholders, what are some of the issues with regards to the Bahamas High School diploma. And I can confidently say to you that there will be changes. The commission has advanced some recommendations. I'm not at liberty to say what they are now, but you will be pleased at some of the recommendations that they have proffered, and our students will be the benefactors, and we are excited about it. And so just stay tuned.
Okay. Well, there is another question, and it says, will the Renaissance testing of students result in any missed instructional time for our students?
The Renaissance testing is a 20-minute test, but I know that there has to be some preparation time. But our students will not miss any instructional opportunity. This test is important for us to diagnose where our children are. And so we need to ensure that all of our children are given that opportunity so that we're able to help them. That's what we want to do. We want to help our children who are struggling, and so it will not affect the instructional time at all.
Okay, thank you, Director. We do have, I'm informed that we do have a comment from the audience.
Good night.
Good
How are
night.
you all? Good night, I say.
Good night.
How are you
Good
all?
night. Good night.
Wonderful. Indeed, it is a pleasure to be here to speak on this momentous time in terms of the platform that the minister has put forward. When I think about Locate Every Child, you see, I am a board member of Uriah McPhee Primary, but I'm also a parent. So I went through all of the ups and downs of the pandemic. And it was so scary. I was like, I wonder if my child, actually it's multiple children, I said, I wonder if they're gonna get back on track. But when I look at what is being done, in particular at Uriah McPhee Primary, I want to take this time out to commend Lady Pamela Adderley, Amelie, the principal, and also the VP, Brenda Cooper. And they know I constantly brag about them down on that side. And I'm very actively involved in everything in that community and even with that school. And so when I get there a lot of times, Amelie's like, would you like to see what we have going on? And there's an excitement in the air. And so she would take me through. I would see all of the projects. I'd have projects that are on a level of God, they need to be displayed in a museum. Okay? And then I look at the children. I look at their attitude and the way that they are so enthusiastic to be in the classroom. When I consider the WhatsApp group, I think the strategy, Minister, in all sincerity, that you and your team have put forward is so commendable. I'm going to be sincere with this. I remember looking and even after all the children were back, I said, who's responsible? I was like, a little biggity. I said, who's responsible for these children, making certain that children return to class, making certain that children return to school? And this question would be in my mind. And sometimes I would make a little call here and there. I see a child at the school. I see a child at the school. I need you to go and get them. And then one day, lo and behold, I went on vacation. And I took my own child with me from that particular school. Next thing I know, I get a call. Huh? Your child has been missing from school for X amount of days. Can you give an account of why? I say, Lord, it reached my doorstep. Thank God they are doing their jobs. So I want to take this opportunity, all in all, to tell you that this program, the platform, the initiative, it works. It may be slow setting because, like you said, you all said, you had to give developmental assessment. But I can truly tell you that the children are quite enthused. The parents are fully involved. And we are grateful that you all are on one page like this. Okay. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. We have another question, and it reads, how far along is the testing in the schools throughout the Bahamas? And I guess that would go again to the director.
Yes, and I've said that already. Actually, 9,000 of our children have completed the early literacy test, and 26,000 the math and reading. So it's about 35,000 children who have been tested thus far.
Okay. All right. Is there another question from the audience at this time? Okay. All right. Going to our social media platform again. I have a question. Okay. We do have a question, another question. I made a statement before, but I have a question. Okay. To the mic, please. Yes.
And this is towards the minister. Minister, today I met a 6th grader. He came into the office and I asked him to see his book. And when he showed me that book, he then began to explain how he wants to be in his career, an individual that creates digital programming. I appreciate and applaud, like I mentioned just now, all the work that we're doing, but I'm wondering, what is the ministry doing now to advance beyond tradition? The concept, seeing that he's in grade 6, and he is talking a career on a digital platform, and he was so enthused about it. I said, we have to find somebody that are going to teach you this, and from this point. So where are we in regards to non-conventional, non-traditional, futuristic learning for our children?
Thank you very much. We have, maybe about a year ago, rolled out in a very comprehensive way coding in primary schools. And in fact, we did as we were moving through the schools in Andros, we went to Mangrove Key, which is a high school, and there was a teacher there teaching coding to the students. Additionally, we want to adjustments in the curriculum to allow greater integration of ICT. I don't know if you want to speak more to that, Madam Director.
What we're seeking to do is provide, at least bring together a focus group of teachers. We've actually contacted a few of them already, so that we can see how we can infuse ICTs into our curriculum. And we are going to use a tiered approach. What I mean by that is students will be able to get certification at level 1, level 2, level 3 in 9th grade, so that when students leave, each child that leaves our schools will have some form of certification, whether that is an ICT or some trade. But we're seeking to ensure that students have the opportunity to branch into areas where they want to. They're non-traditional, but they want to do it, and so we're allowing it.
And just on the point you raised about this very bright child who is innovating and thinking in ways that many of us don't. I think that the coding in the curriculum will assist tremendously in stimulating that sort of genius in that child. But the question you raised is an important one, and I think that we have to really look at it to see how we can more sufficiently integrate that kind of thing into the curriculum for this 21st century child, to allow them to be able to move more effectively in a digital reality and to become innovators themselves. So I thank you for that question. It's a very important one.
Thank you, Minister. We have a question from the Facebook page. It says, some of our teachers have noticed disorderly behavioral patterns in some of our children. How is the Ministry of Education dealing with this, particularly at the primary school level?
Okay. And that is one of the gaps that we indicated, a communication gap among our children, not being able to resolve conflicts or presenting behavioral challenges. And one of the reasons for that is because we are social beings, and we were meant to live in community. When children were locked down and by themselves, they didn't have the opportunity to gain the skills that are necessary for them to work together. And so when those students came back together full face-to-face, not having the social skills, we saw an increase in the behavioral issues and just not gelling together, not communing together. And so you would have heard some of our principals have already advanced, and what we're doing is ensuring that our children have access to positive opportunities. Civic organizations, youth groups, those co-curricular, extracurricular activities that allow them to come together, that allow them to learn how to win graciously, how to lose graciously, how to solve conflicts, how to gain coping skills. And so we have brought our partners together, we've brainstormed, and we have advanced these programs so that our children gain those skills. And secondly, we believe that school pride also helps children to collaborate, to grow in community. And so schools are now ensuring that children are participating in sports. They're participating in a number of competitions that allow them to come together as a team and build that sense of camaraderie. We saw the other day at Carifta, the C.R. Walker Knights. I mean, they came together and all you heard was to be a knight, a CR Walker knight is the perfect way. And so we saw a lot of that in some of our schools, and that's what we're using to build team spirit and, of course, to ensure our children learn to self-regulate and work together.
Thank you again, Director. Look like tonight is your night. I do believe this next question from Facebook is for you as well. It says, I am not allowed to drop my child in the schoolyard before 8 a.m. As a result, I have to leave him in the road. This is not safe, and I have to get to work on time. Can this please be addressed?
That is going to be addressed. We have had a number of complaints, concerns from parents who have to work early, go to work early. And of course, in some of our environments, our administrators may not get to work until 8 a.m. And so we're seeking to address that. We're seeking to see how we can employ and, of course, redeploy some persons who will assist us with providing before and after school care. So that's something in the works. That's something that we're really seeking to address to give support to our parents.
Thank you, Director. This is another one from Facebook, and we're reading the Facebook questions because we're encouraging persons to send in their concerns via Facebook. And the question goes, what about my child in grade 12? How will the learning recovery help them? Won't it already be too late? I do believe the minister spoke to this with BTVI, but I'll let her address it again.
I can speak to it. We understood that there's a child in grade 12, or there might have been one in grade 10 2 years ago who never came back, and who's probably about 16, 17, and it's not realistic for us to expect them, that particular category, to come back into the classroom. So what we did was discuss with BTVI to develop a specific program, which I spoke of earlier, the Smart Start, which integrates literacy and numeracy, which would have been the missing fundamental skills in those 2 years, to allow young people to get a skill set and a certification while at the same time integrating the literacy and numeracy. And we went further. We said to BTVI, where those students want to go full-time into BTVI, we will scholarship them. And so we have sought to provide a bridging between school and the world out there for our young people who've been affected in this way through the tertiary institution of BTVI, which has a range of offerings of subjects and certifications and diplomas, etc. And so that is why I had indicated for that grade 12 child who that parent is concerned about. If in the testing there are deficits that have been identified, that child should be targeted towards BTVI. And I think ultimately we're going to have to look to adult support programs in communities, and we've discussed that. But for the time being, we have struck an arrangement with BTVI, free, students free of charge, in this Smart Start program, with a promise by the ministry that if the child wants it and they are qualified to do so, that we will scholarship them into full tertiary experience.
Thank you, Minister. I do believe we now have a question from the floor. Sir?
Good evening, and
Good evening.
I'm very, very pleased of this program. I'm very pleased of the Renaissance, entirely so. So I want to commend the minister, the government, everything about this program. My question is, please, could it be possible for teachers who are so inclined to take the very same diagnostic test, so they have an experience of what the children are having in the diagnostic test? So that's if they so desire, because some teachers may want to and some may not want to, and that's my question.
A very good idea, because the teacher then gets the real experience that the child has. They can empathize with those who may have test anxieties, and they can also identify how long it takes a child to take the test and what are some of the issues. And so that's a good idea. If any teacher there wants to participate that way, in fact, us leaders could participate that way and see where we fit or where we score in regards to the diagnosis. I think that's a good idea.
I actually like that one. Thank you, Director. Another question from Facebook, and it reads, will there be any parental development workshops during the summer or in the new school year to assist parents in assisting their children?
Thank you for that question. This is another initiative that we are seeking to advance. We do have a parent forum in New Providence, and we have one in Grand Bahama. But we want to increase that. We want to give parents the support that they may need, especially when it comes to the pedagogy. I know we have parents who have said to me, Ms. Russell, I don't know how to do that homework. You know, there are ways that you can support your children, and so we want you to gain those strategies, and we're seeking to support you in that effort. Some of those opportunities will be face-to-face, and those parents who are in the family islands, we will provide support virtual. We would have had our PTA meeting, as Minister spoke to just now, where we offered support for parents, and they were so appreciative of the strategies that we advanced in relation to the grade level assessment test. And so we're going to put more of those opportunities on so that our parents are supported. And at the end of the day, our children benefit from it.
There's another component of this I wanted to touch on, and we did a session with PTAs and parents about 2 months ago. And we invited to that meeting the president of the parenting program, and we also had there Reverend Angela Palacios, who's an officer in this grouping. But the lady, I'm trying to remember her name. I feel a bit embarrassed. You remember her name? Anyway, she spoke to the fact that she herself underwent the parenting classes, and she said she was able to identify weaknesses in the way in which she was interacting with an adolescent in her family, one of her children, or how she was approaching getting tasks done, and how frustrated she became as a result of these loggerhead interactions. And through the parenting classes, she was able to more effectively navigate communications with her children and yield higher results. And I want to recommend for those parents who feel that they're a bit frustrated in that realm, that to think about taking advantage of those classes, which will allow them to more effectively manage their children as they are, as they encounter different environments or issues. So I just wanted to give that as a flip to the coin on the matter.
If I may, also in our various schools, through the guidance department, it's ongoing with the counseling they offer parents. And I know in some schools, they have programs designed to assist parents in helping their children. I also mentioned in my presentation that schools at the various grade levels, they have meetings specifically for parents so that they, to provide them with strategies and ways they can assist their children, because nowadays, let's be honest, what our children are learning, we did in high school. So we are catching up with their brilliance because they are extremely smart. But schools are doing their part in engaging parents, and I just think that, and for the most part, parents are taking advantage of it. And for those parents who believe or who need the assistance, just reach out to the school and say, look, this is, I've been out of school for a while, and I need some help. Help me to be able to help my child. And I'm certain they will render that assistance to you.
Can I just say, the lady that I spoke about, her name is Cheryl Carroll, and she is the president of this association that offers these parenting classes. So I just wanted to, and Reverend Angela Palacios is also very pivotal in this, of the Anglican Church. So I want to encourage parents who feel that they could benefit with some negotiating skills or some management strategies for their children to yield the outcomes that they are seeking to get. I would recommend that you consider doing those classes.
Thank you. Okay, we have a question here. It says, will all 12th graders be able to walk at this year's graduation, or just the students who have met the National High School Diploma criteria? I assume this might be the minister or, again, the director.
He's saying that will be able to graduate no matter what. What was the question?
I'll repeat the question, that's fine.
They'd be able to walk.
And it came on Facebook. Will all 12th graders be able to walk at this year's graduation, or just the students who have met the National High School Diploma criteria?
Thank you for that question, because that's one of the things I feel really good about, because there has been a practice where it was only the student who received the high school diploma, or the recipient, who would have the opportunity, and it represented about half of the graduating class. The other half went home, see you later, alligator. Last year, we changed that approach, and we allowed for all young people who have been in school all their lives with their peers and their friends to not be differentiated in any shape or form, except to the extent that some might be a high school diploma recipient and others may not. But in terms of the graduation ceremony and celebration to mark the end of their school life. And you know, I spoke to a professor at the university, Bahamian in Florida, and she said something that I found really very compelling. She said that walk for that young person who does not have a high school diploma, maybe not even a BJC or BGCSE, I don't know. She said that it is a walk of hope. And just recently, Perry Christie spoke to Government High, that was, I think it was this week, where he told those students that he was a late bloomer. It took him a while before he came of his own. So to answer the question, all grade 12 students will celebrate the end of their school life. If they feel discouraged because they've not achieved what they would like to achieve in their own self-image and self-perception, keep going, because there's a tomorrow and you have other opportunities which will allow you to come of your own. So I hope that answers the question. There will be no distinction between the marking of the end of a school life for grade 12 students.
Okay, I want to thank our audience for all of the questions that are coming in. We're running out of time, but I just want to, I'm just going to maybe just allow Ms. Sinclair to give a closing comment on the amount of students, because this question came in about what are we doing with students who are still walking the streets. Maybe you can give us an understanding of what is the attendance rate now overall for our students.
Thank you. I think we would have heard earlier that the attendance rate at this particular time is at least at 94%. What our focus is at the moment, though, is not just having the attendance rate being made known, but those who are still not attending consistently. This is what we would want to focus on, as well as partnering that with what is happening for learning recovery and learning enrichment. And as I sat this evening and I listened, one particular thought came to my mind. We could have policies, we could have programs, but we won't experience success without people and the purpose and passion to drive all of this. And so as we have this multi-tiered, multi-agency, multi-stakeholder approach to education, I just want to encourage all. We're going to do our part. We are going to put on the programs. We are going to develop the policies, and we ask you to partner with us.
Okay, I'm told we have time for one more question, so we'll end with this one. What are the next steps in ensuring that public school students improve in their overall learning now that the Renaissance Assessment exam has been administered? Maybe Director would like to take that one?
What we're seeking to do, and what some schools have already started doing, students are receiving remediation opportunities. What I mean by that is students have targeted courses, targeted lesson plans that allow them to gain the skills that they may not have. Renaissance has provided that kind of support for us. We have those lesson plans, we have those strategies, those skill building opportunities for every single child. And so parents, your child may come home on their tablet, there's a program, literacy or numeracy, that seeks to address a particular skill, and so they will participate that way. We're also seeking to ensure that we continue our learning academies in the summer. We are offering support, professional development for our teachers in literacy and numeracy strategies. We're seeking to ensure that everyone gains. We're building professional capacity with our team members, and then of course we're providing support for our children.
Thank you, Director. And of course, I just want to thank everyone for listening in. At this time, we are near the close of our program. And I would like to invite, of course, our Acting Director, Mrs. Dominique McCartney-Russell, will be giving us our closing remarks. Director?
Okay. I will say that there are no quick fixes to educational recovery. However, our strategies are intentional and they are personalized. We are addressing the knowledge, the skills, the communication, the motivation, and the environmental gaps that we have observed in our children. But I must admonish, I think it was Ken Blanchard who said, one of us is not as smart as all of us. And so it is imperative for those of us who have a vested interest in nation building that we come together, that we work together, that we strive together in love and service to ensure that our children's learning potential, they're maximized. And I believe if that unity is there, God will bless our efforts and God will bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Amen. Excellent. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. On behalf of our Acting Prime Minister and the Minister of Education, Glenys Hannah Martin, and the entire team here at the Education Ministry, thank you for being part of our program. I am Denise Pratt. Good night.
That was my husband calling me.
Strengthening school attendance for learning recovery. Brought to you by the Communications Section of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training in conjunction with the Office of the Prime Minister.